Good evening. Welcome to a regularly scheduled meeting of the City Council. Before we get started, I will ask Fred to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and we are going to start the meeting with a proclamation to declare Child Abuse and Neglect Prevention Month. Whereas every child is precious and deserves to grow up in a healthy, safe, nurturing environment, free from the threats, dangers, and harmful effects of child abuse and neglect. And whereas child abuse occurs at every socioeconomic level, across ethnic and cultural guidelines, within all religions, at all levels of education. And whereas child abuse and neglect impacts our entire society and can cause traumatic, psychological, emotional, and physical harm, which can lead to detrimental behaviors and mental and physical illnesses as children into adulthood. And whereas child abuse is a community problem and finding solutions depends on the involvement of people throughout the community. And whereas the effects of child abuse are felt by whole communities and need to be addressed by the entire community. And whereas effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because of partnerships created among social service agencies, schools, religious organizations, business, and law enforcement agencies. And whereas youth-serving prevention programs offer positive alternatives for young people and encourage youth to develop strong ties to their community. And whereas all residents should become more aware of child abuse and its prevention and become involved in supporting parents to raise their children in a safe, nurturing environment. Now, therefore, we, I guess it's the Waterville City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2015 Child Abuse and Neglect Prevention Month and urge residents to recognize this month by dedicating ourselves to the task of improving the quality of life for all children. And this will be April, and on April 1st there will be a vigil, and I believe, Mike, is it right outside the City Hall?
Right out front of City Hall.
Out front of City Hall at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock to start this month of Child Abuse and Neglect Prevention Month. Anybody who needs a agenda, they are in the pocket by the back door there. And we will start the meeting with community notes. Community notes is for anyone who has something they'd like to comment on that is not on the agenda. Please feel free to come up to the podium and tell us who you are and what you have to say. Community notes.
I have a community note. A couple of notes. I am Jackie Pont, live on Water Street, co-chair of the South End Neighborhood Association, and I'm here to just invite all of our counselors to, and you're not going to be able to make it, but the Friends of Green Street Park, it's a group that's getting together, that started to officially form to get together and talk about how to revitalize Green Street Park, Sherwin Hill Park, to increase the activity there and make it more user-friendly. It's a great resource that's in the South End, but right now it's had a history of vandalism and misuse, and so one of the ways that we are looking to rectify that is to take back the park and look at how to improve it and make it so that it's something that benefits all the folks that live in the South End. So we're holding a public meeting, and it's really for anyone to talk about what those ideas might be, and it'll be next Tuesday, March 24th at the Muskie Center. Doors will open at 5:30. We will have light refreshments and coffee, as well as childcare for anyone who would like that, to enable everyone to come. And then my other announcement is to make a request that for bike donations. Now that spring is upon us, thankfully, we are going to be holding our 9th annual bike repair and swap, the South End Neighborhood Association. So the swap is on May 2nd, and we are asking for bike donations. So if you have an old bike that has been collecting dust, you can think about getting a new bike and replacing yours. We are doing a repair on April 18th, and then we're doing the swap on the 2nd. Last year we gave out over 50 bikes to neighborhood children, as well as 35 helmets. So if you've got bikes to donate, please do so. And you can find us, the South End Neighborhood Association, on Facebook.
Jackie, have you talked to the police chief to see what he might have?
Yes, we have, and the police department has been able to donate a couple of bikes. Yes, thank you.
Jackie, the bike swap will be at the KV Cap parking lot
Yes.
again?
The bike swap will be at the KV Cap parking lot.
And you'll be selling food again at the teen center like you have in the past?
No,
Nothing this year?
no, we didn't, haven't been selling any food, but that's a really great idea. Might
Good.
call out for bake sale items. Yeah, in the past, we've had for volunteers to say thank you. So,
Can I just say, for anybody who has not been part of an event by the South End Neighborhood Association, this is a group of people that meet on a Saturday morning at 9:30 in the morning on a weekend and volunteer their time to do things for not only their neighborhood, some of them don't even live there, but for a piece of Waterville, and then these events help children in the neighborhood. So, donate a bike, go to the bike swap. It's not just for people who live in the South End, it's for everybody in Waterville. And so I applaud, it's just a great group. I wish that we had more groups like Senna in Waterville.
thank you, Councilor Hershey. I also wanted to echo that, in terms of it being a citywide or even outside of the city, the skate park, as Green Street Park in general, Sherwin Hill, we held Winterfest a couple weeks ago in partnership with Parks and Rec and with Inland Hospital. And we had over 100 people come, and many of them came from not only outside the neighborhood, but outside of Waterville. And it was really great to be able to have, folks come and visit Waterville, have a great family, fun, friendly event, and leave it talking about how great Waterville is. So I really appreciate all of your support as well.
And I'll be there Tuesday at 5:30 for a little bit.
Okay.
If there's anyone that would like to speak to myself, or maybe Councilor Boucher will be there also. Won't be for a long period of time, but,
I understand you all have the budget meeting.
So I will be there for a little bit.
I appreciate it.
We'll be there in spirit.
Yes, thank you. Absolutely.
Thank you, Jackie, and Senator, for everything that you have done. So, great group.
Anybody else for community notes?
Mine's real quick. Tomorrow after Mount Garrison at 9:15, the Bishop of Portland will be there at an assembly, special assembly, for anyone who would like to attend, Catholic or non-Catholic. It would just be a really interesting thing to see the bishop there, so everyone is welcome to attend.
Community notes, Dana.
So I have a new job I'm working at Jobs for Maine Graduates, which is a nonprofit here in Maine. We are located in 79 different schools across the state of Maine, and we help students who have barriers in their lives when it comes to education and careers. Some would call them at-risk students, but we are working with these students, and I'm really excited because one of our next events coming up is going to be right here in Waterville. It's going to be called the Waterville Downtown Experience, and it's going to be held on May 20th. And I know that's a ways away, but we are looking for businesses in the area that might want to take part. So if any of the counselors or anybody out there knows of a business that would like to give a tour to our students, we're going to be bringing about 300 students right here to downtown. Ren is going to be feeding them lunch. The Opera House is going to have a ceremony for them, and then they're going to do tours of the fire station, the library, and get to know the different businesses here in Waterville. Because our goal is to get these students to graduate from high school and then to actually stay in Maine and work in Maine. So many of them are going to go to school in Maine, some of them are going to work in Maine, and my job is, I hope, to get them to work in Waterville. I think that would be really neat. So if you know of a business in the area that would be willing to work with these students, give them about a 20-minute little presentation or a tour, let me know, or email or call, or you can also contact JMG as well. So I'm just really excited because I'm bringing them here to Waterville.
That's great. Anybody else for community notes?
Got a couple things.
Sydney.
Got a couple things. Last week I met with CEO Ken Walsh of the Alpine Youth Center and Matt Skehan, Waterville Parks and Recreation Director, regarding the Francis A. Purnell Athletic Field on Matthews Avenue, which is in my ward. Upon Ken Walsh's interest in work on this great recreational pastime area, there is strong consideration of major infrastructure reconstruction of this field, which would include buildings, fencing, and parking. The vision is to model Purnell Field and the image of National League Chicago Cubs Wrigley Field, so that in essence it would be renamed Purnell Wrigley Field. Cal Ripken Senior Foundation has indicated that they are seriously interested in undertaking the major reconstruction of this field, as they are looking to assist up to 50 total athletic fields within the United States. In fact, there is strong indication ground could be broken as soon as 2016. We all can recognize and see that the current Francis A. Purnell Athletic Field is in need of immediate revitalization, that the city has and continues to be in financial distress and becoming able to administer and invest in this field. Nothing could be more welcome than to have and see this become a treasured reality. They are committed to making this field completely handicapped accessible and are instrumental in building Maine's only licensed Fenway Park out on McGraw Pond Road in Oakland. And now the time is right for our community to benefit and reap from the state-of-the-art athletic facility that will attract more potential revenue to our area. I urge all of you to support this endeavor and personally thank Ken Walsh and Matt Skehan for the collaboration on this project. Also want to note the next City Council meeting, there will be special guests and presentation from the Maine Rail Group, MRG and Company, which was founded in 1988. Past President Jack Sutton, Keith Luke, Deputy Director of Developmental Services for City of Augusta, and Richard Rudolph of Maine Rail Group's Board of Directors. They will provide an informational forum on our shared vision to see possible passenger rail service to both the City of Augusta and our fine city in Waterville as well. This will take place on April 7th, council meeting following business agenda. A new modernized rail resolution that I have been working on will be presented on April 7th, City Council meeting, that continues to show our serious interest on this matter. The old rail resolution of 2002 that we had done in the past was in need of major overhaul and content, and I have been working on this for several weeks to specify our continued hope that we are interested in fulfilling a vision of possible new commerce, tourist potential, and economic stimulus on a grand scale that strengthens our region and our very own community. Thank you, Dick.
Thank you. Anybody else for community notes? Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Move to adopt.
Second. No discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? There is no unfinished business, so we'll move on to new business. And we'll start with Order 332015.
An order providing for refinancing the 2005 general obligation bonds in the amount of $2,470,000. Whereas the City of Waterville wishes to refinance its 2005 general obligation bonds, and whereas such refinancing is estimated to save the city approximately $120,000 over the next 10 years, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Waterville, acting as municipal officers as follows. That in furtherance of previous orders of the City Council adopted on October 1st, 2002, February 18, 2003, May 6, 2003, October 14, 2003, October 21st, 2003, May 1st, 2005, and May 10, 2005, the manager and city treasurer are directed to issue refunding bonds in an aggregate principal amount of $2,470,000 to fully refund the outstanding balance of certain bonds issued by the city on June 1st, 2005, which amount is inclusive of transaction costs and underwriter's fees. That the bonds may be issued with or without call or early redemption provisions, and with or without premium, and the form and details of the bonds, including the dates, maturities, denominations, interest rate, and place of payment shall be as approved by the city manager and treasurer. Note, the total bond amount to be refinanced is $2,470,000. This is the same amount as is currently outstanding. Term for the new bonds, 10 years, will be the same as the remaining term for the 2005 bonds.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Well, I'd like to introduce Dick Granigan from Quorum Savings Bank. Dick, in the work to look at funding the bond that the council approved back in December, $3 million bond, took a look at our earlier bonds and came up with, the realization that we could refinance and save some money. The rates today are quite a bit better than they were in 2005. And so Dick came forward and said, hey, not only can I help you refinance or finance the work that you approved back in December, but we can also combine that old bond with the new one and save some money, which is significant over the next 10 years. So I'd like Dick to explain to you a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Mike. Mr. Manager, Mr. Mayor, members of council, my name is Dick Granigan from Quorum Savings Bank. As Mike said, the 2005 bonds carry an average interest rate of just under 4%. The remaining life on the 2005 bonds, which are coming up to their 10-year call period, carry an average interest rate, as I said, just under 4%. The bonds that we would use to refinance those bonds would have an all-in interest cost of about 2.4%. So that spread generates an earlier estimate of $120,000. Our estimate of last week was $142,000. It's always a moving target at this point as interest rates change and move about. But we think the savings are significant. It's about 5% of the face value of the bonds that are outstanding. The rule of thumb is that if you can save 3% on the face value of the bonds outstanding, you should move forward with it. We would also combine it with the $3 million, $3 million plus that was approved by the council earlier, and do one bond issue. That helps save on the issuance cost. We can do one bond issue with the refinancing and the new money financing in one.
Even on the terms of that?
Absolutely, right. We'd have a Series A, which would be the new money bonds, and a Series B, which would be the refunding bonds. They're together and packaged in one and sold separately, but in one package. We would move ahead with the schedule where we would accomplish this financing by about May 1st. The bonds are callable on June 1st on the 2005 bonds. And so those would come off of the city's books, and these new bonds would go on the city's books. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
When will we lock in our rate, Dick?
It's actually, we would have a pricing date right near the end of April. So it would be about a week to 10 days prior to closing. So it's in that end of April, early May period. It depends how fast we can get all the information together, create the official statement, get the rating done, and all of the due diligence that we need to do. We've already started some of that, hoping that you would approve it, but we've started to gather the data, been working with Chuck and with Mike.
You're hearing these days that interest rates might creep up. Any chance that, in your mind, that that's happening?
Great question. The Fed is meeting today and tomorrow. The initial thoughts were that they were going to raise rates more than 1/4 point, and so the market reacted negatively to that a few weeks back, and actually as recent as a week or so ago. More recent announcement is that they might move rates 1/4 point, which is now a positive or less of a negative. And so the bond market came back in the last week or so better. We're in nearly still a 30-year to 40-year low. It's been a great trough to be in, to be able to do this. I've done 5 refundings in the last 6 months, and 4 refundings in the last 6 months. All of them quite successful, all of them exceeding that 3% benchmark.
And Dick, any talked about the rates moving is really on the short term and not the long end where we're really looking anyway. And that,
Right, short-term rates are unbelievably low. I just sold a note issued 9 months over in New Hampshire at 0.22% for 9 months. So even if there's a movement up of a quarter of a point, there's still great rates. Long-term rates are pretty stable. Long-term rates and long-term rates come into the mix, but obviously the longer-term rates way heavier because of the longer term. This is a 10-year refinancing. We think that we're going to be all in with either the issuance costs under 3%. These are net savings to the city. There aren't any out-of-pocket costs. All of the issuance cost comes out of the refunding.
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you, Dick.
Thanks.
If there is no other discussion, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay. Next up, Resolution 342015.
A resolution providing for a memorandum of understanding regarding payment of utility liens. Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Waterville, acting as municipal officers as follows, that the city manager be authorized to sign the attached memorandum of understanding regarding a policy for the payment of outstanding utility liens for foreclosed properties. This agreement has been approved by both the water and sewer districts.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Mike?
I have to correct something in the resolution because it has not been approved by the water district yet. It was approved by the sewer district last week. The water district, I thought, was acting this morning, but their meeting is Thursday morning. This written agreement is something that we've had as a gentleman's agreement for many, many years, but it's never really been in writing in this form. And what pushed this to happen is the property on Summer Street that, if you remember, the city took over and we demolished it. This has probably been 2 years now. We sold the land to a Mr. Grondin and a butter, and there were liens with the sewer district especially, well, and there was a water district lien too. And there was quite a bit of discussion about should they be paid or not. And the understanding has always been that when the city acquires a property and has to demolish a building, our costs, including loss taxes, demolition costs, any legal work, are so huge that they really outweigh any sewer or water lien. But there are quite a few questions raised with that Summer Street property, so we decided finally to put it in writing, really for the future, because I won't be here forever, the water district superintendent won't be there, sewer district, actually, it's the reason, a big reason it happened is because change happened with the sewer district superintendent. Roland LaPointe retired January 1, and so the new guy came on board. He wasn't aware of the gentleman's agreement. He started the whole process of foreclosing on old liens that property that we own, and we had to tell him, wait a minute, we've always had this understanding, and it wasn't clear, and so now it is. I hope it is.
Do their water and sewer liens survive a tax foreclosure?
No,
That's what I thought.
but,
We said, we'll pay you anyway?
well, the problem is that they remain at the registry.
Oh.
And so if you buy a piece of property from us that's been foreclosed, we're going to give you a quitclaim deed. When you go to the bank to get financing,
They're gonna see these clouds on the title. Yeah.
bank's going to say, what about that sewer lien? You're going to say, oh, don't worry about that, that was foreclosed when the city did its foreclosure. And the bank will say, that's not good enough, we want the sewer district to discharge it. And the only way they'll discharge it is either because we have this, or we're actually going to pay them if we have a building that we foreclose on and resell. And that way, we're covering our lost taxes, we don't have demolition costs. So we pay the utilities when we have a sale of an existing building. When we have a property that we have to tear down, and there's one on your agenda later on about Ann Street, and our costs usually are huge, and we don't pay the utilities. And they agree to discharge the liens.
Right away, will it?
Yep. So really, this is a good thing. It ended up being a lot more work than we thought it was going to be to get 3 different lawyers to agree on all the terms, but we did it. I hope you find it's okay. Billy has reviewed it.
Any further discussion? All right, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Opposed?
Thank you.
Next up. Resolution 352015.
A resolution providing for amendment to Resolution 150-2014. Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Waterville acting as municipal officers as follows, that Resolution 150-2014 be amended to increase the cost of the traffic pedestrian study of the Spring Street intersection from $49,000 to $61,600. This will increase the allowable city share from $24,500 to $25,000. Be it further resolved to accept funds from Colby College in the amount of $13,350 to cover the increase in the contract amount. This contract modification is for the purpose of studying additional options for changes to the Spring Street intersection.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Well, certainly the article in the newspaper, I think, helped to provide an introduction to this whole subject, because the city and the consultant have been studying the Main Street intersection now since December. And the report, or their study, was supposed to be completed by now, but there have been extra details added to the work, and I'll hopefully be able to explain some of it by this diagram, and I hope most people can see it. So, the study work is pretty much completed, and it outlined 3 possible options for changes in the intersection. Now I say possible. A lot is going to have to happen before any changes happen in the intersection, no matter what they look like. The intersection or the road is a state and federal highway. US Route 201 is our main street, and it won't be changed without state and federal approval, no matter what option is the one recommended. It's going to have to take quite a bit of review and approval by both state agents, state and federal government.
Thank you.
If we can get this, there we go. Yep. It might be a little lopsided, but it should work. All right, let's try that. Plus, the cost of anything that would happen there and who's going to pay for it. Those are still very, very big unanswered questions. But the intent of the study to begin with was to try, as best it could, my trusted assistant here has tried to sabotage. The purpose of the study was to look at making improvements for pedestrian access from Hathaway to Main Street, from the Hathaway complex to Main Street. That was the original intent. Because when the city sold the Hathaway complex to Mr. Bogosian and others, we, in writing, said to him, we'll do everything we can to look at how to make improvements for pedestrian access. So, the consultants were getting near the end of their project and about ready to report back to the committee the council appointed and then back to you. And Colby became involved in looking at our downtown and trying to work with us about making some improvements. And so they met with us one day and they saw that picture on the wall. And they said, that's what it used to look like, huh? We said, yep. And so they took a photo of that photo and came back with this proposed drawing. So right now there are 4 options that are being discussed. The intersection as it is with crosswalks, same here, kind of a rotary option, and more of a roundabout type option. In every picture, this is the bridge heading to Winslow, just to orient you a little bit, okay? So, the question before you tonight is whether we want to allow our consultants to study option 4, and to report back as part of the whole report. Kobe has offered to pay the bulk of the study, our costs. City put in $25,000 into this project from KISS money, and the contract only allocated $24,500. So, I mean, really, in a way, the city already committed the full 25, but I had to come back to you to say, do you want to spend an extra 500 on our side to finish looking at this 4th option?
And Mike, just to alleviate fears too, can you just explain to people kind of before any changes, regardless of what is picked, we can't just pick one, and in kind of what it has, how service level impact would have be a factor in whether we could do any of these options or not.
Right, I mean, that's one thing the report will address, is the question about level of service. The level of service is an analysis of how changes would affect the current motor vehicle access through that intersection. So the state has made it clear to us, they're not going to approve any change in any of these options that significantly lower the level of service for motorists. The state's also interested in improving pedestrian access, but the level of service factor is a big one. And again, Main Street, right? Main Street is US Route 201, so it's not only a state but also a federal highway. So once this report is complete, it goes to the state and federal agencies, and they deliver their comments.
Mike, isn't it likely that a roundabout or rotary style with constantly moving traffic, wouldn't that be less pedestrian friendly than stoplights and so forth?
That's a reasonable argument. Yep, I thought the same thing myself. I don't know.
Well, the best example of that was Poynton in England. Did you see that video, John?
I did not.
You should. They had the same concerns, and once they put it in, they found that it miraculously improved pedestrian access.
Would they have crosswalks and so forth on certain
No
points?
no lights at all.
I know, but we're talking about people walking.
Yeah.
On here, there are crosswalks still included.
On the roundabout, oh yes.
On all of the,
Yeah.
on all of the,
Yeah, the crosswalks, I know probably all of you can't see it from there, but are in blue. So the roundabout has crosswalk shown. This one does too, but this is a lot more conceptual. These are more engineered because they're further along in the process. So what I assume we'll get, if the council agrees to do more study, is an engineered drawing of this idea that'll look more like it.
Right. We're not here to vote on whether this is going to happen or not. We're here to simply accept money from Kobe, who has kindly offered us the chance to at least process through another option.
There'll be,
Which frankly, any thoughtful process would say that we would reserve probably judgment until we have actually seen studies on all options.
right,
There'll be more.
us giving this, accepting the money and giving a little bit more would allow us to have those questions of service and,
Correct.
I mean, we don't have the answers yet until this is actually studied and looked at.
right, we don't have the answers as if this could even meet the level of service test. Right.
Or if any of them could.
And actually, any of them.
Right.
Right. Right, it's a big question.
It shows that it's almost coming back to what it was when we were kids growing up and coming across to Waterville.
It's urban renewal in reverse.
Yes, exactly. I remember, wow. I
And it's
think it's a good idea to just take the time and do it. Thank you to Colby.
And when the report is done, we'll certainly have public meetings like this to discuss the results of the report.
I know that the redesign of Coney Circle, being right near Coney Circle where my business is, has been greatly enhanced with the signage, with the walks, with the whole infrastructure was redone, and they're having very good success and low traffic accidents because of all the infrastructure work they've done with Coney Circle, and that's one of the busiest circles during peak hour, and going to and from Augusta across the bridge, and with the old Coney High School and everything else. So that's a really classic type thing you can look at for each one of those roundabout or circle designs. I mean, you just go down there and look, you can stand there, and pedestrians are getting around. That's also been enhanced greatly, and they've had no problems.
Yeah, I kind of feel a little bit like John. If traffic is stopped, I think for pedestrians it's easier, but maybe with the rotary or a roundabout approach, you can make it so that pedestrians can go through without any trouble. Good question.
Excellent.
Any other discussion? Okay. Yes, sir. Did you come up to the, I guess we can't come to the podium, or you can. And let us know who you are and what you have to say.
My name is Ellery Keene, and I have some copies of what I'm going to say to pass out. I read what was in the newspaper today. I did attend a public input session that Mike referred to, looking at the Waterville Bridge. I live in Winslow. I use the bridge that approaches Spring Street in Waterville quite often. I don't think it's a good idea to make a traffic circle, a roundabout, at the end of this bridge. I have a master's degree in civil engineering and a master's degree in urban and regional planning. I gained a fair amount of experience in traffic planning and downtown planning when I lived in Wisconsin for about 8 years before coming to the Waterville area in 1970. I experienced the traffic circle at the end of the bridge at that time. I was very pleased when the rotary was changed to what we have now. I was told several years ago that the rotary in Augusta near the end of the High Bridge, that's the Coney one, had more traffic accidents than any other place in the state of Maine. And I've been told that these accidents are not as damaging as accidents at most other locations, not rotaries, because the vehicles are moving more slowly. Rotaries in a more rural place probably are less likely to have as many accidents. There is no traffic light at that Augusta rotary. There is very little pedestrian traffic. It is not near the edge of a busy downtown. Now, it may be that the improvements that were made have to some degree reduced the accident occurrences there, but I still consider roundabouts in a busy downtown location to be accident prone.
Ellery, shouldn't you wait and give this presentation to the public hearing that we're going to have?
I didn't know about the public hearing.
Because we're not,
scheduled.
We're not voting on any of these options
we're
tonight.
not discussing.
Right.
All right, I'll not say any more except one thing. I think it's a waste of money for Colby or the city to spend any more money on looking at this alternative.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, I will call for a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Moving on, resolution 362015.
A resolution providing for authorizing renewal of liquor licenses to expire between April 1st, 2015 and June 30th, 2015. Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Waterville acting as the municipal officers as follows. That the City Council hereby authorizes the renewal of the following liquor licenses to expire between April 1st, 2015 and June 30th, 2015. Hibachi Supreme Buffet LLC, Joseph Family Spa, Joseph's Fireside Steakhouse, Mainly Brews, Michelina's Pizza, Pad Thai 2, Silver Street Tavern, Spare Time Recreation, T&B's Outback Tavern, Favorites, Thai Bistro, and Waterville Opera House.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion?
I just have a question. Spare Time Recreation, I was told is closing April 1st. So,
Well,
curious, is this just something that we automatically do?
well, this is routine so that they have approval. If they come in for renewal, I can sign off on their licenses during that time.
Okay.
So as of right now, I haven't received formal notice from them that they're closing.
Okay.
I have, however, heard that Michelina's Pizza is closed. I didn't hear that when I prepared the resolution. So I would suggest that we make an amendment to take off Michelina's Pizza. And also Thai Bistro has new owners. They came in today. They'll be applying for a new liquor license at the April 7th meeting. So we don't need to renew under the previous owners. We can also amend to remove that one as well.
So I move that we amend the motion to admit Michelina's and Thai Bistro.
Second.
All those in favor?
We need to move it as amended.
Do I have a motion? To move as amended?
Move as amended.
Second.
All those in favor? Resolution 372015.
A resolution providing for authorizing disposal of tax-acquired properties. Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Waterville acting as municipal officers as follows. That the city manager be authorized to take action on the following tax-acquired properties. 38 Cary Lane, offer for sale to abutters. 12 Glidden Street, offer for sale to abutters. 25 Oak Street, list with broker. 13 Ann Street, demolish vacant building and offer land for sale to abutters. It is understood that city council approval is required prior to sale of any of these properties.
Move to adopt.
Second.
The first three properties have been acquired by the city at some point in the last 2-3 years. So 38 Cary Lane, 12 Glidden, and 25 Oak are all vacant lots. They all had homes. We demolished the homes on 2 of them, Cary Lane, Glidden Street. The one on Oak Street was the lot that burned, or there was a house there that burned. And the city eventually had to go in and tear the house down because the owners were not to be found. They abandoned the building, so we tore that one down. The ordinance that the city has about disposing of foreclosed properties says that for vacant lots, we are to offer it to the abutters first. I wanted to make sure the council was in agreement with that policy before I just went ahead and did it. So that's what we'd like to do with 38 Cary Lane and 12 Glidden Street. The vacant lot at 25 Oak Street, we offered to abutters last summer. And we only got one bid, and in the amount of $500. This is a buildable lot with water and sewer. So it's worth a lot more than $500. So I'd like to list that with a real estate broker and try to recoup some of our loss on that lot, because not only did we lose taxes, we had demolition costs, so I mean the total bill could be well over $10,000 total, taxes, demolition, and so on. So that's 25 Oak Street. 13 Ann Street, the foreclosure on that became final last Friday. Foreclosure actually happened in February, but according to the city's policy, there's an additional 30 days for someone to step forward and buy the property. No one did. That 30-day period ended last Friday. So at 13 Ann Street, we would like to demolish that building because it's in very, very poor condition and sell the land to the abutters.
Mike, when you say sell the land to the abutters, you're talking about offering it to the abutters, and if in fact they're offering a reasonable price, then we would go ahead and sell it?
Correct. We send a letter to every abutter telling them it's up for sale and they can present a bid. bids come in, then we come back to you and present the bids and make a recommendation on who to sell it to. So it'll be the same on any of these. Once we get prices, I'll come back to you and say, is this an acceptable price?
Yeah, it's a perfect example with Oak Street. I mean, $500 is a lot.
Yeah, I didn't even want to bring that to the council, that wasn't even close.
Yeah.
It really is, it's ridiculous.
It's a prime
Do we
location.
have anybody with real estate experience that we go to check on what the right price would be?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we work regularly with two different agencies.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, we switch between the two. Yep. One further thing I'd like to mention, not on the list, but the other property that we were concerned about acquiring on Summer Street, and I forget the number of the property, but it's an existing two-family house, and someone did come in before the deadline last Friday and paid the taxes. Apparently the property was sold to someone who came forward, paid the outstanding taxes, so that's one property that I told you back in February we had foreclosed on, but now it's back in private hands, which is certainly the best thing.
So when they do that, though, Mike, they have to pay the taxes that are subject to the lien as well as any subsequent taxes, correct?
Correct.
So that's right up to date?
Yep. Yep. So fortunately, that one you won't see that one on the list, at least for this year.
Any other discussion? All right, we take a vote. All those in favor? Any opposed?
Good luck.
Last on the list, Resolution 382015.
A resolution providing for authorizing the city clerk to issue outdoor dining license renewals. Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Waterville, acting as municipal officers as follows. That the city clerk shall be authorized to issue outdoor dining licenses directly to an applicant requesting the renewal of a license, provided, however, the applicant has received a satisfactory inspection from the code enforcement office and the fire department and is in compliance with any state laws regarding such establishments, local ordinances, and zoning requirements. Be it further resolved that the procedure set forth in this resolution shall be effective through January 5, 2016.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion?
I do have a question. Do we charge for these applications for the
Yeah.
outdoor dining? What is that?
I
What do we
believe
charge?
it's $100.
$100?
Yeah, I can verify that.
Is it? Okay. Thank you.
We have to do that to our residents.
I think that.
It's exciting, that means spring is on its way.
I'll do it.
Can't wait.
I don't believe it.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Managers report.
Only one item. Budget. Well, I guess that's 3 items. You all have a copy of the proposed budget for next year. City's on a July to June fiscal year, so this proposed budget would begin July 1. At the very front of the budget book is a summary letter of a summary of what the expenses and revenues look like. In your agenda was a copy of this schedule, so you should have gotten this with your agenda, which shows us here next Tuesday night at 6 o'clock. That time is open. I mean, I assume it will work for all of you, 6 o'clock, if not you folks at the time, but in the past, we've always done budget stuff at 6, so if that's okay, then we'll meet here next Tuesday, 6 p.m. to look at the assessing budget for the city clerk, finance department, what our debt service is, we heard some of that tonight on debt service, and the administration budget. Normally, the budget meetings last an hour and a half or so, an hour and a half to 2 hours, but it hasn't gone any longer than that. I mean, we are going to meet every Tuesday night from here until the end of May. So there's no need to spend 3 or 4 hours on one night. We'll have plenty of nights to do that. And make sure to reserve time at the end for a summary meeting when we get there. Any questions?
I already told you, but I just wanted to let the council know, my daughter has a talent show on Tuesday, so I won't be able to be here, but I'll meet with the other ones.
What's your talent?
The George J. Mitchell School Elementary School Talent Show, John, you should come.
What is your daughter's?
She is singing a song, and everybody can probably guess what song she's going to sing, which is Let It Go.
Of course it is.
Sure, none of you have heard that song. And then she's doing gymnastics.
Cool.
And there'll be others of you that won't be able to make every single one, so I'm happy to meet in between meetings, and I know I talked to Dana about that, meeting to go over those 4 or 5 different accounts, whenever it works.
All right, is there anybody else who has anything they'd like to say? Leo, how about you? No? All right, I get a motion to adjourn.